Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Tuesday, February 11th, 2020. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's college basketball, NBA, and NHL games and look ahead to tonight's games. Talk about a baseball trade that was finally finalized the other day, but we just didn't get to it on yesterday's show. My 2019 NFL ReDraft and my best bet of the day. All right, we're going to start with college basketball today. Going to go over last night's results and look ahead to tonight's slate. Some results were predictable, others were surprising. South Carolina upstate over Charleston Southern 66-52. Number 7 Duke over number 8 Florida State 70-65. Longwood over Campbell 57-56. Gardner-Webb over High Point 86-55. Hampton over UNC Asheville 87-8. Radford over Winthrop 81-77. Colgate over Boston University 79-63. Bethune-Cookman over Howard 87-68. Coppin State over Maryland Eastern Shore 68-67 in overtime. SC State over Delaware State 186. NC Central over Morgan State 58-57. Florida A&M over NC A&T 79-60. Mississippi Valley State over Alabama A&M 67-61. Grambling over Alcorn State 80-71. Alabama State over Arkansas Pine Bluff 57-49. Number 1 Baylor over Texas 52-45. Number 24 Texas Tech over TCU 88-42. Portland State over Northern Colorado 83-71. Jackson State over Southern 67-51. Tonight's slate, 6:30 Big Ten Eric, number 13 Penn State at Purdue. Purdue's a 4.5-point favorite. I love Penn State getting those points. I think Purdue is super overvalued. People are treating them from their past success and preseason hype. And they need to get over the fact that just Purdue isn't good this year and Penn State is. Penn State's winning this game outright. Give me Penn State plus the 4.5. I have this Penn State by a half. So this number is off by 5 points, is what I'm trying to say. And the market better adjust to this properly. Number 12, Kentucky at Vanderbilt, 7 o'clock on ESPN. Kentucky is a 11.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Vandy in the 11.5. Vandy's on a roll in terms of having success against the number. I'd make this 11 on a neutral, but 11.5 on a neutral, but 8.5 at Vandy. So give me Vanderbilt plus the 11.5. Kentucky will win, but Vandy cover machine will cover again. So I think this line is 3 points off. ESPNU, Mississippi State at Ole Miss. Mississippi State's a 1-point favorite. I had Mississippi State by 1.5. I'm going to lay the point here with Miss State. If this was 2, I'd pick Ole Miss, but my numbers have Mississippi State as a 1.5-point favorite, so a half point off. So give me the Bulldogs minus the 1 on the road. ESPN Plus, Fordham at Davidson. Davidson's giving 14. I take Fordham in the points. I have Davidson by 9, so this is 5 points off. So give me Davidson plus the 14. Bowling Green at Akron. Akron's giving 6.5. I love Bowling Green getting the 6.5. I have this Akron by 1.5, 5 points off. So give me the Boilermakers of Bowling Green, whatever they are. Boilermakers is Purdue. But Bowling Green, I forget what they are. I think it might be the Broncos. Getting 6.5. I think that Akron will win, but Bowling Green will cover. Miami of Ohio at Toledo. Eastern Michigan at Central Michigan. Western Michigan at Ohio. St. Bonaventure at St. Joe's. Bonaventure is a 7.5-point favorite. I have it at 11. So give me St. Bonaventure minus the 7.5 in that one. Arkansas, Tennessee on the SEC Network. Tennessee is a 2.5-point favorite. That's what I have it as well. So gun to head, Tennessee. Don't feel good about it though because this is dead on with my projection. NC State at Syracuse on ESPN2. Syracuse is a 4.5-point favorite. I have it 3.5, so it's close. I take NC State in the 4.5, but I don't feel good about it. Northern Illinois at Ball State, 7:30 game of the night. Rhode Island at number 6 Dayton. Dayton by 5. It's Dayton by 10. I'm taking Rhode Island in the 10. Dayton will win, but they won't cover. So give me Rhode Island as they kind of, if they win this game, they're going to get an at-large. But they might be in the tournament as an at-large regardless. 8 o'clock ACC Network, North Carolina at Wake Forest. UNC is a 1.5-point favorite. This opened as a pick, but everybody pounced on Carolina. I have Wake by 1.5. I think this should be Carolina by 1.5 on a neutral. I think this is a letdown after the devastating loss. I think it takes a team, especially a team like that, it takes them a couple games to get over that loss. And everybody's betting on them today. I know they're pissed off, but I really like that Wake Forest. They're playing better. They're competitive at Louisville. I think they're going to win this game. So give me Wake plus the 1.5. 8:30 Big Ten Network, Nebraska at number 9 Maryland. Maryland is giving 17. I have Maryland by 16, so one number off. So give me Nebraska plus the 17, but I don't feel good about it. 9 o'clock ESPN, Michigan State at number 22 Illinois. Michigan State's a 2-point favorite. Give me Illinois. They're playing at home. These two teams are very close to even. So I give Illinois 3 in the hook. So I think Illinois wins this game outright. Worst case scenario, Michigan State pushes or wins by 1 point. I think this is close. 1 possession game. So give me Illinois plus the points. I think they win. SEC Network, Missouri at number 25 LSU. LSU is an 11-point favorite. And that's what I have it as well. Gun to head, I take LSU. Air Force at Boise State. Boise State's an 11-point favorite. I have Boise State by 11. Gunpoint. I take Boise State minus the points. But I won't bet it. I won't bet anything that has an identical number as me. But then I'll just do gun to head like I did with the last 2 picks. ESPN2 Notre Dame at Virginia. Virginia is a 4.5-point favorite. I have Virginia by 5.5. So I'm going to lay the points with the Cavs. ESPNU Oklahoma State at Kansas State. Kansas State's a 3-point favorite. That's what I have it as. At gunpoint, I take the Cowboys because they're playing a better rate now. I'm hoping this line comes up so I could bet on Oklahoma State. I just like how they're playing. They finally won a conference game last week. They hung around with Baylor. So at gunpoint, I take Oklahoma State. CBS Sports Network at 9:30, Utah State at Colorado State. I have Utah State listed as a 2-point favorite here according to ESPN. I have Colorado State on my sheet by 2.5. So give me the Rams plus the 2.5 to win the game outright. 11 o'clock ESPN2, New Mexico at number 4 San Diego State. San Diego State is a 15.5-point favorite. I have them at 13.5. So give me New Mexico plus the points here to keep this semi-competitive, I guess, is the right words for this. Now we'll move on to the NBA. Interesting night in the association last night. I made an adjustment to my numbers. So I may have a different best bet for you instead of picking favorites. So stay tuned. Hornets over to Pistons 87-76. Nets over to Pacers 106-105. Magic over the Hawks 135-126. Raptors over the Timberwolves 137-126. Bucks over the Kings 123-111. Jazz over the Mavericks 123-119. Nuggets over the Spurs 127-120. Heat over the Warriors 113-101. Lakers over the Suns 125-100. Only 5 games tonight, 7 o'clock TNT. The Clippers at the 76ers. Should be a fun game. On the call, the game will be Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller probably. But Tuesdays have been different lately. They don't do players only anymore, which I think was smart to boycott that. So it's Clippers at Philly. So in my projections, these two teams are 2.5 points apart on a neutral. So I'd make this Philly by 1. Or Philly by a half. It is Clippers by 1. I'm going to take Philly in the point. I think Philly wins outright. I think that at home against the contender, they play well. But on the road against a team that's not good, like the Hawks or the Knicks, is where they fail. So, give me the Sixers plus the point. My old projections would have had the Clippers minus 1.5, but I'm changing how I do it. Bulls against the Wizards at 7 o'clock. The Trailblazers at the Pelicans at 8. Spurs at the Thunders also at 8. 9:30 TNT. The Celtics at the Rockets on TNT. If I had to guess the announcers of this game, probably Marv Albert and Chris Webber. But if not them, then probably Brian Anderson and somebody in an Iron Eagle would do the Philly game. How would I make this? I'm trying to figure this out. Philly at the Rockets, so bear with me. 2.5, so same distance as the other game. So I'd make this Rockets by a half point. The Rockets are a 2-point favorite. So I'd take the Celtics plus the 2. I don't feel good about it. Just feels like a bounce back spot for the Rockets. But I kind of like how the Celtics have been playing lately. They won at Oklahoma City. That's an impressive win. So give me the Celtics plus the 2. If it goes down, then I'll probably switch. NHL. We're going to go over last night's games, look ahead to tonight. Coyotes over the Canadiens 3-2. Flyers over the Panthers 4-1. Islanders over the Capitals 5-3. Ovechkin, by the way, is 2 goals away from 700. Lightning over the Blue Jackets 2-1 in overtime on a goal by Nikita Kucherov. Canucks over the Predators 6-2 and Flames over the Sharks 6-2. Tonight's slate is bigger. 7 o'clock, Red Wings at the Sabres, Coyotes at the Maple Leafs, Panthers at the Devils, NBCSN, the Flyers at the Islanders. Good on the Islanders for finally getting a NBCSN game. They deserve it. On the call, the game will probably be like John Forsland and Pierre Maguire. Because this year I've noticed that John Forsland's been missing Carolina Hurricanes games for NBC games. So he's doing what Mike Breen does in the NBA. I don't know if I could recall Kenny Albert ever doing that. Sometimes Kenny does that, but I think it depends on the game. So, I'm going to go with the Islanders at home. They need this one. Philly's climbing up their rear end. 1 point apart in the standings. So give me the Islanders here to win. Lightning at the Penguins. Golden Knights at the Wild at 8 o'clock. Rangers at the Jets. 8:30 Hurricanes at the Stars. 9 o'clock the Senators at the Avalanche. The Blackhawks at the Oilers. And at 10 o'clock you have the Blues at the Ducks. While we're on the subject of hockey, there was a big trade last night in the NHL. Jason Zucker was traded from the Minnesota Wild to the Pittsburgh Penguins for a 2020 first-round pick, defense prospect Calen Addison, and Alex Galchenyuk. It's crazy how much Galchenyuk's been traded. That guy is just an overrated player in the NHL. He starts off with the Canadiens, was overdrafted in the first place. Then he goes to Arizona, and then Arizona flips him to Pittsburgh for Phil Kessel, and now Pittsburgh shipped him to Minnesota for Jason Zucker. Jason Zucker got a lot back for Minnesota. That's because he's still under contract. Normally, if you're under contract for longer, you get more back in return. So, that's why Minnesota was able to get such a good haul. But I've seen guys that are in contract years get traded, which the team that trades for him overpays. We've seen that before. Pittsburgh, a few years ago, did that. Traded its first-round pick to Edmonton. Forget who the player was. But the player wasn't productive for them as they lost in the first round to the Rangers. But I remember they traded what could have been a lottery pick because Pittsburgh nearly missed the playoffs. And so it's risky to trade first-round picks unless that was a lottery-protected pick. I want to see if this pick they sent to Minnesota was lottery-protected. I'm not sure. And don't forget, I remember Ottawa traded its first-round pick one year for Matt Duchene from Colorado, and I think that was the draft of this past year, the Capo Caco, Jack Hughes, that draft. So it's risky to trade first round picks sometimes, but Pittsburgh's winning the playoffs more likely than not, so that's going to be a first round pick's best case scenario in the high teams, worst case scenario in the 20s. So, to me, it's all about the return for Minnesota in terms of if it pans out. We don't know who that first-round pick's going to be. They got Calen Addison, who was a promising defense prospect. And then they got Galchenyuk, who, as I mentioned, is on his fourth team in at least 5 years. So, you never know. Maybe they catch lightning in the bottle, but I don't know. To me, it just comes down to the pick in Addison for them. I think Galchenyuk's super overrated, but you never know. I've seen overrated players get traded a part of packages and end up thriving on their new teams. So you never know with this. But like I said, we'll see how this works out for Pittsburgh. Zucker would, I think, fit right in with Crosby and Malkin as the third wheel there. And as I mentioned for Minnesota, to me it comes down to Addison in the pick in terms of whether I feel could be a successful trade or not. And speaking of trades, Mookie Betts is officially a Los Angeles Dodger, and so is David Price. This was something that should have been done last week, but the Twins kind of pulled out of the three-way deal, except that they did end up pulling off a deal for Kenta Maeda. We'll get to that in a second, but obviously the big story is that Mookie Betts and David Price go from Boston to L.A. Going back to L.A. is a better package, let's be honest. Verdugo's still in it, Alex Verdugo. Shortstop Jeter Downs. This is his second time being traded. Obviously, he went from the Reds and to the Dodgers in that Yasiel Puig, Matt Kemp deal last year. And then you had catching prospect Connor Wong, who had a nice year for the Dodgers last year. But the Dodgers have still to this day a surplus of catching in their minor league system. They have Will Smith, and they also have Keibert Ruiz. So maybe they package one of those guys for the reliever they desperately need to bridge to Kenley Jansen, and could be like a backup closer, like an Andrew Miller type of guy. I'm not suggesting it's going to be Andrew Miller, but somebody like him. That'd be like the closest comparison when Andrew Miller was on the Yankees, and then the Yankees flipped him to Cleveland. And he was like a pseudo closer, and someone that could come in and just dominate for 2 innings. Josh Hader's like that, so I think that's the better comparison. Maybe they go out and trade for Josh Hader, because that's somebody that's on the trade block. So maybe they package one of those catchers with a couple other things to go out and get Josh Hader. So good deal for the Dodgers. I think this makes them the unequivocal favorite to come out of the National League, and co-favorites technically in terms of an odds standpoint with the Yankees. They are each plus 350, but I'd still give the edge to the Yankees right now because of their depth in their bullpen. I think they'll eventually get James Paxton back from injury in the middle of the year, and they could use him coming back as like a trade acquisition, because he was very good for them in the second half of the season last year, coming into his own. He had a couple good playoff starts as well. So I think that the James Paxton injury will hurt him in terms of regular season wins, but not a division title or a World Series title. But I still think the Yankees are the better team between them and the Dodgers because of the Yankees bullpen. And from the Red Sox perspective, better package. Graterol's a good pitcher. I'll talk about him in a minute when we talk about the Twins deal. But Connor Wong, like I said, the Dodgers have a surplus of catching. Jeter Downs is somebody that is looked upon as a really good prospect, but I think it's suspicious that he's already been traded twice. And obviously Alex Verdugo, who I think is a solid player. I think he's a breakout candidate for the 2020 season. So I think the Red Sox ended up doing well in this deal despite trading its superstar player in a contract year. And that, to me, this is going to work out for the Dodgers if they win the World Series or if they re-sign Mookie Betts. If they do both, it's a slam dunk. That's a lot of prospect capital they gave up for Betts and the David Price contract. So we'll see how this works out. If they win the World Series, it's a slam dunk success. It's a super slam dunk success if they win the World Series and they re-sign him. If they do re-sign him, and I think they will probably win one with Betts because of how talented he is. But for whatever reason, if they don't win one with this current group and Mookie Betts leaves, then it's an abject failure. So a lot of pressure on the Dodgers this year to come out and win the World Series for sure. And then the Twins were involved with the Dodgers in a deal. Kenta Maeda for Brusdar Graterol straight up. I think that's a slam dunk for the Dodgers. I think Graterol could either be in their rotation or their bullpen, or they could use him as a trade piece to go out and get that reliever they're looking for. But Graterol is no short thing. But I'll tell you what, the Twins paid a heavy price to get a pitcher that I don't know will translate his National League success into the American League. I think the Twins are treating this like this is the final piece for them, but I'm not convinced that this is the final piece. I'm not even convinced he's the best pitcher on their team. They have Jose Barrios, who's a solid pitcher. Kenta Maeda, I look at as a solid pitcher. Worst case scenario, they're about even. Best case scenario, they're about even. But I think that even Barrios has more upside than Maeda. And at least Barrios has shown his upside in the hitter-friendly league. And Maeda, I'm not sure if this addition would really be what they expect it to be. And I think that David Price will have a better season than Kenta Maeda. And the guy who he's replacing in that rotation, Heijin Ryu. So I think they those two teams that signed those respective pitchers, I'm not convinced that they're in for immediate success with those two respective pitchers. So I think the Twins overpaid. Love what the Dodgers did, obviously. Now I want to do my 2019 NFL redraft. This is something that I worked hard on. There's a lot of them that you're like, and others you're like, oh, that worked out. So without further ado, here we go. Number 1, Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, quarterback, Oklahoma, so no redo there. Murray won the Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm not sure if he deserved that award, but he did win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Showed some flashes. I think the Cards are happy with him. They just have to build a good team around them for him to succeed. Or a team that at least fits his skill set. Number 2, the San Francisco 49ers. Nick Bosa, defensive end, Ohio State, so no redo for the 49ers as they take their franchise pass rusher. Number 3, New York Jets. Josh Allen, defensive end, Kentucky, so they do a redo. They badly have a need on the edge. They trade away Leonard Williams. Quinton Williams, who they took in that spot, did not live up to hype. Josh Allen did live up to hype, and a couple teams here are probably scratching their heads, specifically 3 through 6. But I think some of the teams 3 through 6 are happy with their picks, as you'll see. But I really like Josh Allen, and I think he's going to be around for a while. And he would have been a great Jet. For the Oakland Raiders, Ed Oliver, defensive tackle, Houston. Raiders miss out on Josh Allen. They overdrafted Clelin Ferrell, who was okay his rookie year. He wasn't anything special. He wasn't even the best rookie defenseman on that team, as you'll see in this redraft. Oliver had a good year. He's somebody that I think is going to be around for a while. The Buffalo Bills, I think, will eventually give him a second contract. And I think he would fit nicely on the Raiders and John Gruden. Buccaneers at 5, I have them taking Devin White, the linebacker from LSU. He had a good rookie year. I think they're happy with him. And he's somebody that I think will be around for a while. 6, the New York Giants, Daniel Jones, quarterback Duke. Yes, I have the Giants retaking Daniel Jones. I did not like this pick at all at the time. I thought he was overdrafted. You could still make a case he was overdrafted, but he showed enough down the stretch for me to realize that I think the Giants may have not reached. And I think they're happy with Jones. I think that they're going to build a team around his skill set this offseason. I think that they have to improve that defense, most importantly, because that was their biggest issue this year. And Jones just needs a better offensive line as well to succeed in my mind. I think he will cut down on the fumbles. And I think that he's somebody that just fits the quarterback that the Giants want. Number 7, the Jacksonville Jaguars, Jawan Taylor, offensive tackle, Florida. Taylor was the Jacksonville Jaguars' second-round pick. But with Allen off the board, I have them taking Taylor, who many thought would have been picked in this spot at the draft last year. Taylor had a good rookie year. He's somebody that I think will be a starter for them going forward. And really should have been drafted sooner. Number 8, the Detroit Lions. Sean Murphy Bunting, cornerback, Central Michigan. Murphy Bunting was a pleasant surprise as a rookie defensive back. He is somebody that really had teams scratching their heads. Tampa Bay really has a nice foundation on defense. They have him. They have Vita Vea. They have to replace Jason Pierre-Paul possibly this offseason when he's a free agent. So that's in the pass rush. But and obviously Devin White's part of that young core. But yeah, I think Tampa is building a little something here on both sides of the ball. And if the Lions drafted him as a late round steal, they would be very happy with him. So it's crazy that he's this high, but that's reality. He was arguably the best cornerback, defensive back this season, as we're referring to rookies here. 9, the Buffalo Bills. A.J. Brown, wide receiver, Ole Miss. Josh Allen, what he lacked this past season was that top threat receiver. A.J. Brown could have been that for them. He obviously was a big part of the Titans' success this past season with Ryan Tannehill. I think he would have absolutely been a big plus for Josh Allen in his development. Number 10, the Denver Broncos. Drew Lock, quarterback, Missouri. A lot of people thought that Lock would have been picked in this spot last year. This is, I think, an overreaction to some sorts based on his last half of the season. But Lock really did show something. And he's somebody that I think could be a breakout quarterback in 2020. And I'm very intrigued what the Broncos have built. They had a great draft class. They have him. They have a couple other guys that I have on this list. And they have Cortland Sutton from last year. Von Miller still around. So the Broncos are building themselves a nice foundation here for Vic Fangio. 11, the Cincinnati Bengals. Devin Bush, inside linebacker, Michigan. And don't forget that the Broncos traded back in the draft. So that's something that we can't forget here as Pittsburgh moved up and took Devin Bush. I have Cincinnati taking Devin Bush in the redraft. Cincinnati had the worst team in the league last year, the worst defense in the league. And I think that Bush would have been a mainstay keeper for them, like he is with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 12, the Green Bay Packers. Terry McLaurin, wide receiver, Baylor. McLaurin really did show flashes as a rookie before he got injured. I think that one of their weaknesses, really outside Devontae Adams, was a reliable wide receiver. McLaurin would have been a nice number 2 for Aaron Rodgers as he is entering the second phase of his career. Or the third phase, I should say. Like that last prime phase for him. Number 13, the Miami Dolphins. Dexter Lawrence, defensive tackle, Clemson. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. I meant to say Christian Wilkins. I wrote down the wrong name. So I think Miami's happy with Wilkins. He's somebody that really was a promising rookie for them in the middle of their pass rush. I had the right school, but I just had the wrong player written down. Whoops. But yeah, Christian Wilkins is who they initially took in that spot, and I think that he'll be a solid player for them going forward. 14, Atlanta Falcons. Elgton Jenkins, guard, Mississippi State. The Packers got themselves a second-round steal with Jenkins. I think that the Falcons would have been very happy with Jenkins. And Jenkins is somebody that's going to be around for a while and help Aaron Rodgers get through the end of his career here at the Packers. And I think he would have certainly helped Matt Ryan in Atlanta as well. 15, Washington Redskins. Dwayne Haskins, quarterback, Ohio State. I think that Haskins showed enough flashes in his rookie season for the Redskins to redraft him here in the redraft. I think they're happy with him. I think he's another candidate for a breakout year 2. I think the candidates are Locke, Jones, and Haskins, and obviously Murray as well. Although year 2 quarterbacks, I think, are candidates to break out. Some of the year 3 guys like Sam Darnold and Josh Allen technically didn't really break out. He was just a quarterback on a team that made the playoffs as a wild card in the AFC. So he really didn't break out. The year two quarterback that broke out last year was Lamar Jackson. And he won the MVP, obviously. None of the other guys really broke out. But Baker didn't break out. Darnold, Allen, and obviously Rosen, who's a huge bust. But Haskins, I think, showed a lot of some promise his rookie year. I think Daniel Jones and Kyler Murray and even Gardner Minshew, but I'm not high on Minshew at all, had better moments than Haskins. But that's, I think, more a decrement on the Redskins than it is on Haskins, because the Redskins were starting Case Keenum and Colt McCoy over him in some games, and Haskins got injured at the end of the season. But I still think that they'd retake Dwayne Haskins. 16, the Carolina Panthers, Dexter Lawrence, defensive tackle, Clemson. Lawrence was fine as a rookie for the Giants this past season. Made the Odell Beckham trade look a little bit better, that the Giants got themselves a all-rookie first-team guy that they selected. I think that he'd be a big help to the Carolina Panthers. As Luke Kuechly retired and that defense is now in shambles and they have to rebuild it, I think Lawrence would have been a nice fit there. 17, New York Giants, Jeffrey Simmons, defensive tackle, Mississippi State. With Lawrence off the board, who they initially picked, they go with Simmons. Simmons really showed signs as a rookie when he was healthy. At the times he was healthy. Helped the Titans defense really have success in the playoffs up until that Chiefs game. I think he's somebody that will be a solid starter for the Titans going forward. 18, the Minnesota Vikings, Darnell Savage, safety, Maryland. Obviously, the Vikings, Xavier Rhodes is somebody that really has declined. I can't believe he made the Pro Bowl. He had a bad year this year. But I have them taking a safety here with Savage. Mike Hughes is somebody that's also a corner. Harrison Smith's a safety. But I just think that Savage would give them some depth here. You could argue Juan Thornhill in this spot, but he got injured at the end of the season, so I took Savage over him, and Savage really helped the Packers defense this season. And I think he would have been a big help for Minnesota too. 19, the Tennessee Titans, Deebo Samuel, wide receiver, South Carolina. With both Jeffrey Simmons and A.J. Brown off the board, the Titans go with Samuel here, who would have really been a big help for Ryan Tannehill in that offense. He was a big help for Jimmy Garoppolo in that offense, getting to the Super Bowl. And I think that he'll be a big help for Jimmy G going forward. Number 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Dre Greenlaw, outside linebacker, Arkansas. The 49ers found themselves an absolute gem picking Greenlaw in the first round. He was a big help to their pass rush en route to their Super Bowl appearance. With Bud Dupree set to be a free agent this offseason and with Devin Bush off the board, the Steelers go with Greenlaw here to help their pass rush. And he would have been a big help for them as well. 21, the Seattle Seahawks, DK Metcalf, wide receiver, Ole Miss. They take their receiver that they took in the second round in this spot. A lot of people had Metcalf as a first-round receiver. He exceeded expectations as a rookie, made a push for the Rookie of the Year. He emerged as a really good number 2 for Russell Wilson this past year in Seattle. And I think they're very happy with him. And I think that the kid they took from TCU, Collier, who they traded back for, I'm not really sold on him, but they should be happy that they took Metcalf when they did. But he would have been fine as a first-round pick, too, as this past year proved. And obviously, with this redraft, I didn't do the trades, like the draft day trades. I did, like, for example, a couple of the trades that took place before the draft, like the Raiders having multiple picks due to the trades of Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper, for example, and then the Giants with the extra first rounder because they traded Odell before the draft, and etc. 22, the Baltimore Ravens, Marquise Brown, wide receiver, Oklahoma. They're happy with Brown. He's somebody that was a big help for Lamar Jackson in Jackson's MVP season with that offense. And I think that Hollywood Brown will be a big piece for them now going forward. 23, the Houston Texans. Titus Howard, offensive tackle, Alabama State. I would have never expected a year ago when they took him, or less than a year ago, that he'd be in this spot. I hated this pick at the time. He was from Alabama State. I had him, I think, slated as a second, or at least a day 2 draft pick. And Howard played very well as a rookie. I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact he played with Laramie Tunsil. And I think Tunsil was a big help to the offensive line. But hey, they found themselves another starter in Titus Howard. I think that line does need some help, but they got themselves another tackle. I think that they need help inside, but the outsides, they're set. 24, Oakland Raiders. Josh Jacobs, running back, Alabama. They're very happy with Josh Jacobs. I could have put him higher on this list, but I had other guys ahead of him, so it worked out that the Raiders take Jacobs in the redraft. Really good rookie year. He should have been the offensive rookie of the year. And my case was that the Raiders were a different team, or a better team, when he was in the lineup, and once he got injured, their season fell apart. And they were relevant longer into the season than the Cardinals were, so I think that has to do with it as well. And but then again, Saquon Barkley, the Giants were out of contention in November last year, and Saquon Barkley won the Rookie of the Year. And that was like this year at Kyler. So wins and losses really don't matter in terms of the Rookies of the Year, but they do for MVP, obviously, as we saw with Jackson and Mahomes the past 2 years. But Jacobs did have a really good rookie season. I think he's a keeper for them. 25, the Philadelphia Eagles. Juan Thornhill, safety, Virginia. The biggest weakness of the Philadelphia Eagles this past year was their secondary. Ronald Darby did not have a good year. Malcolm Jenkins is probably their only somewhat solid defensive back, but even he wasn't healthy a lot of the year. Juan Thornhill would have been a great addition to that secondary, and he really was good for the Chiefs before his injury. 26, the Indianapolis Colts. Max Crosby, defensive end, Eastern Michigan. Crosby, somebody that had a great rookie season for the Raiders. They found the gem here. Justin Houston, or whatever his name is, he's washed up. And I think Crosby would have been better for the Colts this past season than Justin Houston was. 27, the Oakland Raiders. Bobby Okereke, linebacker, Stanford. Crosby gone already, so they take Okereke, the linebacker from Stanford, who had a promising rookie season. He's somebody that part-time player for the Colts, third-round pick, but he was solid. And I think he would have been solid for the Raiders as well. 28, the Los Angeles Chargers. Andre Dillard, offensive tackle, Washington State. The Chargers' offensive line is not as good as it used to be. And I think that was a reason for the decline of Phillip Rivers. And obviously his age as well. But the offensive line was a huge problem last year. And I think that Dillard had a nice rookie season when he got his playing time. The Eagles have a deep offensive line, so Dillard really didn't get that much playing time. But I think he'll eventually be a starter for them with some of their guys aging. But Dillard really would have been a nice addition to the Chargers. He would have helped them. 25, the Kansas City Chiefs. Jamel Dean, cornerback, Auburn. The Chiefs' weakness is their secondary. And I think that Jamel Dean would have been a nice add there, and that's another young Tampa Bay Buck that really showed some flashes as a rookie. And I think Dean would have been a big help to that secondary as well. Kendall Fuller's okay. Thornhill was good for them. Obviously, I have them taking Dean here because Thornhill went earlier in this redraft. They have Tyrann Mathieu, who I think is in a contract year. He's going to be a free agent. But Dean would have been a nice addition to that secondary. He would have helped the Chiefs in their run. 30 to Green Bay Packers. Dalton Risner, guard, Kansas State. With Eldon Jenkins off the board, the Packers go with the young guard here that had a really promising rookie season for the Denver Broncos. He's somebody that would have helped Aaron Rodgers. I think Jenkins probably had the better rookie season, but Risner equally had a good year too. But both of them would have helped them, but obviously Eldon Jenkins was on the Packers, and they stole him in the second round. So I have them here taking Dalton Risner, who would have been good for them as well. And in this initial spot, they traded out of the pick as the Giants moved up to get DeAndre Baker. 31, the Los Angeles Rams. Eric McCoy, center, Texas A&M. The Rams' offensive line, it's not as good as it was the past couple of years. McCoy would have been a big help protecting Jared Goff in the middle of that offensive line. He was great as a rookie helping protect Drew Brees. So he certainly would have been a big help for Jared Goff. 32, New England Patriots. Darius Slayton, wide receiver, Auburn. Slayton was a fine rookie receiver for the Giants, catching a lot of passes from Daniel Jones and even Eli Manning as well when Manning played those couple weeks. And I think that the Giants found themselves a gem here, and Slayton really would have helped Tom Brady this past year. He's better than N'Keal Harry, better than Jacoby Myers, and like I said, he would have helped Brady for sure. And that's it for my redraft. And now my best bets of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. 2-0. Last week I had the Bucks, or last night, laying 11, and I had the Florida State Seminoles getting the points. Those two were winners, for sure. So, for college basketball today, I'm going to take Penn State plus the 4.5 against Purdue. I don't get that line whatsoever. If I get bit in the ass by Purdue for the second time in 2 or 3 weeks, that's going to be annoying as hell. Like, Purdue sucks. Penn State is a very good team. Like I said, Purdue is very overvalued in the market. They killed Iowa, and obviously Iowa has Luka Garza. Lamar Stevens is another good player in the Big Ten. That's obviously Penn State's best player. And I just don't get why they're getting the same number of points as Iowa was getting when I bet Iowa. And the juice is on Purdue. What the heck? Like, stop overrating Purdue so much. Oh my God. So, now it's up to 5, and I got it at 5. And now it's going the other way. It's going to be back at 4.5. But I got it at 5, and that's a better number than 4.5. Even though I have to pay a bigger price and I will win less. NBA best bet. I talked about the two national games. In terms of the other lines, Washington's giving 2.5 at home against the Chicago Bulls. This line, I separate these teams by really a half point here. Maybe one, maybe a half point. and the Wizards are home. So Wizards really should be giving 4.5 rather than 2.5. Pelicans Trailblazers. These two teams are really a 1.5 apart. And it should be half-half. Pelicans by 1.5. And the other game, Spurs at the Thunder. These two teams are, let's see here. 4.5. So that line's right. The Thunder line's right. Let's go with the Wizards giving the 2.5 at home against the Bulls. Don't feel strongly about it. But there's certainly getting them at less than 2.5 is really good. And plus they have the best player on the court in Bradley Beal. I don't like this slate tonight in terms for betting, but that's my best NBA pick tonight. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping college basketball, NBA, and NHL. Look ahead to tomorrow night. Preview The Masked Singer, the third episode of the new season. We'll do a redraft for baseball in 2019, that MLB 2019 redraft, and my best bets as well. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody.